Hi, everybody. This is Sari, and this is episode 22 of Mind Your Job. Today, we're going to be talking to somebody who's so super passionate and unbelievably knowledgeable about practice buying, transitioning, when the time is ready. And the topic today is going to be, are you ready to buy your practice? And what are some of the things that you need to know about buying your practice? And before I give it to Sam to take it away, and then we'll be talking to Betsy Krekling from DDSmatch, who's like unbelievable, sharp, amazing. We're going to do a shameless plug for a book. We've written a book.
What is it?
It's called Painless. And it is for the people who are looking to buy practices. It really gives you some clear defining things that you need to be able to buy your practice and sleep well at night. We want you to be able to do this. We wrote this book because over the years of doing this, we've seen so many people struggle with so many different areas. Yesterday, I was at lunch with two accountants. So how many practices do you think that they've been part of transitions with? And they asked me a really interesting question. We have a guy that's buying a practice. When should he be credentialing? And I said, he must not have a very good lawyer. And they said, why? I said, because if you do a transition of services for 120 days, we can bill the insurance right through the original owner while we're owning the practice and credentialing it, and not put the cash layout before we buy the practice. So one of the things I'm going to tell you guys, this is a Sari kernel, is if you are buying a practice, get a transition service agreement in place, have your lawyer look into it. And number two is, don't pay for things that you don't necessarily need to pay for until you close the deal, because sometimes practices don't close. And why would you put the money and the effort out? And the last most important thing is, if you're buying a practice and you're an associate somewhere else, please get your NP2 number now. That doesn't cost you much. It's critically important, though, for being able to get paid from insurance companies and not have to go back to the old boss to ask for the checks. Take it away, Sam.
Hey, well, hi everyone. I'm back with Sari, and I wanted to actually just start by asking Betsy a little bit. Betsy, you and I and Sari have spoken a little bit and worked together. Tell us about what you do and how it relates to these conversations and purchasing the practice.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me, you two. The Mind Your Job podcast is a favorite of mine. So thanks for putting out all of this great content on a regular, consistent basis. I love it.
Thank you.
But yeah, it's a pretty nuanced topic. There's a lot of different ways that you can slice and dice a practice transition. I've been doing this for quite some time. And still to this day, I have never been a part of a transition that has looked similar even to the one I had just closed. So, as we evolve and identify new ways to prep buyers, we'll just keep talking about it. And I thank you guys so much for having me on.
Thank you for coming on. I think like right now, even we do recruiting, you do recruiting. When you're even like recruiting somebody, are you even like in that mode? I mean, I think we both are, because we want to know like where you're going. Obviously, you want to get them into a practice and make them happy and not make them feel totally anxious about the fact that they may have a lot of debt yet from dental school, but they can still cover the cash flow for owning a practice. I want to make them feel comfortable and confident that if they do own a practice, they're not swimming in the deep end without anybody giving them a life preserver or giving them any kind of context, so that when they do come up with problems and stuff, there are solutions or somebody that helps them come to solutions. When is someone ready? Like, when do you know they're ready?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on that conversation. I mean, ultimately, when I identify a buyer that I think is truly a viable candidate to purchase a practice, they're the ones that have a really clear vision of the type of dentistry that they want to do. They understand what kind of community that they want to serve. That's a huge part of it. And they have enough clinical confidence to lead a team, not just a dental team, but your hygiene, your staff. They really need to show that they're capable of leading a full business, a whole team. They don't need to know everything. That's why there's wonderful advisors and coaches like you, Sari. No one knows everything, and we often evolve and have to pivot and do what works best for our clients, as you know. But yeah, I mean, they should be comfortable producing, communicating with their patients, making decisions. And yeah, it's just they're done being an associate. And usually they're like, I'm done now.
So how do you approach them with vetting to see if they really are ready? Anyone who's eager can say, I'm going to do this, Betsy. Let's go. Find me a practice. I'm going to buy it. What do you ask them, or how do you help them determine whether it's the right move at the right time?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I mean, it all starts with that relationship, making sure that I have a really rich understanding of what their goals are. Obviously, as, a transition professional, I want to make sure that they understand every single detail about this practice. They have to be financeable too. I mean, let's be honest, many of these students are graduating with a huge amount of debt, and it looks a little bleak when they graduate. So they do have to put in, a few years of it, of working as an associate, tightening up their hand skills. I don't beat around the bush when I'm at Marquette and doing lunch and learns. I tell them that credit matters. They need to be financially responsible, and taking on a significant loan is part of that. So yeah, dental lending can be favorable compared to many other industries, but they still want to see personal credit being very healthy and a really good production history, reasonable debt management, just a really thoughtful plan.
It's really interesting because you know that I work with a ton of banks on doing business
Yeah.
plans because nobody really does them. Accountants don't have time to do them, and it's a really
Mhm.
interesting oddity in dentistry that people don't realize. You have two different number sources running at the same time, a production number, a collection number. Obviously, the collection number is always running behind what the production number is because you're waiting for insurance companies to decide when and if they're going to pay you, all
Mhm.
those type of things. And when I'm putting together these immense 3-year business plans with
Yeah.
like pro forma, giving them financials, telling them when they can add an employee, all the things, it is really interesting to me how little they actually understand about creating income and cash flow versus debt and things that you need to be paying down. For instance,
Yep.
they don't understand, like, even when they're buying a practice, and you and I see this, like, this, they don't realize that one of the biggest sticking points to get, I mean, you and I could close a practice. We have bankers that could close a practice in 2 weeks,
Mhm.
assuming that we have every financial piece of information. But what is
Yep.
usually our biggest hang up? The lease and getting the formality of the lease and the assignment. And maybe at the time that they're buying the practice, this is the best time that you are making a new relationship with the landlord. Maybe what you
Yep.
want to do is extend the lease out because as a new owner, one thing you are not doing in the first 3 years is buying a building unless somehow you can buy the real estate really comfortably in the
Mhm.
initial offering of the practice. You're not buying the building.
You're
You're
right.
definitely not. So your lease and being able to kind of, this is a terrible word for me to say, objectify the landlord now and get them to get you there longer term and get some free rent for yourself while you're starting out so you can ease up the noose around your neck and who you have to pay and when is something huge. And lots of people aren't like discussing that
Right. They're
ever.
not. No, and we all know that time kills deals. So
Time
let's
kills
be,
deals.
yeah, we need to mind your job and make sure that people are aware of how to keep that ball rolling. And that's pretty much what I mean I'm here for as well. And same with you, Sari and Sam, that we try to keep that ball rolling. And sometimes they're so hung up on, just the financing part that they miss some of the red flags too
Right.
in a practice that maybe we didn't identify until that due diligence period, and that's another part that can really slow it down. And
What are some of the reports that you want them to look at when they are buying a practice? Like
yeah.
historically, what should they be looking at? And then like the go forward stuff, like what reports should they really be focusing on? Because I often see people focusing on stuff like, oh, this could have been this or that could have been that or whatever. And I'm like going, that's so backward thinking. Let's think
Yeah.
forward. How are we going to grow? Where's the money in this practice? Like, how can I how can I build it better? How can I make us have more patients every month, morning patients every month? But then
Yeah.
how can I get treatment acceptance and case acceptance higher? Like what reports show people that?
Yeah, I mean, your typical collections reports, I mean, make sure that, the collections aren't declining or in a decline. Weak hygiene, so definitely pulling the hygiene reports, making sure that, when you're looking at your AR as well. I mean, I work with sellers, I coach them to clean up their accounts receivables long before they even list their practice. So just making sure that they have all of that in front of them. And then just heavy dependence on one provider can be a struggle. Unclear lease terms, like what you just said. There's so many reports
No, but
that
I
we
always
can go
get
through.
asked, like, when someone's like, oh, I'm going to buy a practice. And I'm like, okay, I always tell them, like, I don't really, I care about the P&L and I care very much
Right.
about the treatment diagnosed unscheduled. I want to know what is not being sold in that practice. Like, if there's like $2 million sitting there in an 18-month period where we've diagnosed stuff and people are not getting it done, you got a front desk problem. And you got a doctor who's weak on saying, like, imagine if I could fix your teeth and you wouldn't have an emergency and you wouldn't have a problem. And if I fixed it now before it gets worse, you're not going to need, you may not need a root canal. I can get a three-sided filling done or whatever the treatment is. It's,
Yeah.
they're not getting the yeses. And since COVID, most of the offices that I have anything to do with, I will be like, if I first meet them, can you run me a treatment diagnosed on schedule? Go back 18 months. And they're like, why? And I'm like, no reason, just do it. And then I sit down with them and I go to the last page, bottom line, and I look at the amount of actual diagnosis and the total amount there. And I look at them and I go, this is why you're struggling. This is not getting done. No, I need more new patients. No, the patients that you have, you need them to get them to say yes to treatment. And you need to find out what is holding them up. If it's an insurance thing, well, there's a big, huge solving problem for that. If they are only getting $1,500 a year and they've used some of it in 2025, finish off what they've used in 2025 and push them over to 2026 to get the rest of it done. That's really
Absolutely.
easy. That doesn't take any skill, that just takes some ingenuity. But
Yep.
if it's getting them financed, you know what? Care credit is burdensome for doctors. There's other really good choices out there. There's Sunbit, there's
Mhm.
Cherry. I'm sure there's a million other choices out there for finance. Have more than one. Like, you want people to get treatment done, give them a way to get it financed. We're America, we love debt. We can get credit really easily. It's a thing. We're talking about people buying practices, they're taking on more debt, you know.
Yep.
So why would you think that there's not a microcosm of that with the patients? But like, to me, I always say the bigger the treatment diagnosed unscheduled, the bigger the opportunity you have in the
Yeah.
practice. Because day one, I would hire somebody just to call those people and get them in to to sit in the chair to make sure the treatment is still the same and hasn't escalated, and then sell them and get them in your chair, get them in your column as soon. You said something. Time is the killer of all deals.
Mhm.
Patients hate the dentist. They hate the time. They're afraid because somebody's putting something in their mouth. They're going to be
Mhm.
incapacitated and get a little numb for a little while. Get them there while it's top of mind. Don't let it drag out. But then
Don't let it drag out.
the other thing I want to say is like, I always advocate, and I don't know what you do is, but I'm always like, get your team vetted before you're buying your
Mhm.
practice.
Yes.
So can you speak a little bit about like who somebody would want on their team and why they need specific people to do specific
Oh,
jobs?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, every advisor has a different role. I guess number one is your family. Typically,
Love
when
that.
I mean, my family is my everything. And if I were going to be taking a job somewhere else, they would be the first ones that I'd run it past. And I would really want their blessings, their buy-in on it as well. And if that's not happening, then this deal is done, right?
Right.
And so
Right. Yeah.
I think number one, your family is an advisor, a team member in this whole transition. Obviously, an attorney.
Yep.
They'll protect your legal interests, obviously. The CPAs help with the tax financial structure of what that transition will look like. And then a lender, obviously. They'll evaluate your financing. I always encourage people to talk to more than one. Find,
100%.
yeah, yep, yep. And in Wisconsin, we have so many wonderful lenders and partners, and
Especially
it's
in the dental space, we have a ton.
especially in the dental space where these folks have a rich understanding of the nuances of this profession that can speak really intelligently about it, not just to me, but to their clients, and then that helps everybody involved.
Every lender, I want to give everybody a little caveat emptor here. Every lender comes with a little different package. Some are
Mhm.
super supportive afterwards. Some are just loan originators. So when you have a merch services problem, your lender isn't going to help you. Maybe they'll get you to a customer service person and you may be calling an 800 number, but really, unfortunately, a lot of dentists don't realize you guys need service. You need somebody you can pick up the phone, and if you have a problem or something you don't understand is coming through on your bank statement or something is not being done right through treasury or merch services, you need somebody to explain it to you.
Mhm.
Keep that in mind. Everything is not always about how much you are paying. Sometimes you are paying in a negative way when you're trying to get the cheapest possible thing and you don't get the service when you need it later. Have you and I both experienced that?
Oh gosh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that we've both experienced is, I mean, literally every single client that I've had in the last couple of years, or maybe up to 4 or 5 years, is this hygiene shortage, right? And so
Oh,
I know
God.
you guys
yeah.
are, I think your heads are spinning with just placing
Mhm.
hygienists all over the state of Wisconsin, and it actually spans coast to coast. It's everywhere, not just
Right.
Wisconsin. So it's definitely not some unique thing to us, but that's probably number one. So I like to connect my sellers with a really good recruiting firm like what OPS does, what Sari and Sam, what you guys are doing is fantastic. You're helping these
Yeah.
practices round out their teams in a really thoughtful way. I appreciate your support for my clients. So that
We,
goes a long
we
way. They
love
need you guys.
referrals.
They do.
Yes.
They need you. They need you.
Yeah.
They truly do. And, obviously I'm a big part of that transition too. To me, it isn't just a transaction at the end of the day. I offer my clients something that I don't know if any other brokers do. I can only really speak for what I provide, but I do what I call my integration plan, where it's a collaborative document. I'm getting together with the buyer and the seller on a weekly basis to discuss, number one, how are we going to inform our patients? How are we going to inform the staff? When, how, why? And, the letter, I help them draft that. And I just really hold their hand through that process because I've yet to do a transition where it's not emotional
We,
and pretty much see tears at some point from either my buyer or seller
For you?
through this transition. So
I cry a lot. So,
it's okay.
and a question that I wanted to ask was, Sari said at the beginning she had lunch with two accountants who asked the interesting question of when should they get credentialed. And so you had said, no day is ever the same, no deal is ever the same. It's the same in recruiting. Every I've been recruiting for 23 years. There's never a placement that goes the same.
Ever.
What is ever, ever? I mean,
Ever.
I think I'll be like, oh, that's a new one. But what what is something that I know I'm catching you off guard on this, Betsy, but what's something that
That's okay.
happened that's totally outside the norm so that somebody else who's possibly looking to be a seller can be reassured, like, hey, even in the most chaotic, we can be creative and make this work for you.
Yeah, I mean, some of my most unique deals are usually the ones that are rushed unnecessarily. It just causes this unnecessary stress and tension, and tons of explanation needs to go into it. And so if there isn't a really good reason to expedite the process, I don't recommend it. I mean, obviously, time kills deals, but as long as there's a plan in place, I'm a planner. So as long as I know what is coming next, what the next step is, who needs to do what next, what reports are needed for due diligence, what vendor lists are we missing for that new buyer, anything like that is, ultimately, if it's rushed, it gets messy. As far as like a exact story, I've closed, it's close to 100 deals coast to coast, because when I was with ADA Practice Transitions, I was doing it nationwide. And I will say California is a crazy state. And so
Oh,
I have,
no, you're not kidding. When I do
yes,
recruiting, like I do some recruiting nationally, and
yeah,
we're looking for some doctors in Phoenix, and a lot of California doctors will literally fly there
oh yeah,
for 3, 4 days, pick up the shifts, and then fly back to California. California is a mess. It is so tragically, um, everything there is like compliance this, become compliance that. It's not just like HIPAA, OSHA, it's HR stuff that is just like so randomly weird. They've gone off the, whatever. It's not even a political thing. It's just they've gone off the deep end, and the supply of
overregulated. Yeah,
doctors in California is higher than anywhere in the country. So
it is.
you have a lot of doctors there that are not happy, and they're flying to Vegas or flying to Phoenix or, Seattle, because they can hop on a plane and be home. They can go there for 3 days and be home and for 4 days.
Right.
It's
We are
crazy.
so lucky to be in Wisconsin. I
Yes.
cannot
We don't
stress
even
that enough.
realize it.
Right, right.
Yes.
It's normal here.
I mean, it's pretty normal. I think that we're getting there. I take the education part really seriously. So I just got home or no, excuse me, 2 nights ago from Marinette. I had a meeting all the way up there where we spoke to some excellent clinicians. And it really is just a unique situation because so many are, they're like terrified to go into this. And I'm like, well, I understand that there's emotions, right? Because this is a legacy practice. I pretty much only work with private practicing dentists. I understand, and I will help you with that continuity of your legacy and philosophy of care and all of that. But they're like very concerned. And it really kind of strikes a nerve for me because I'm almost going, what has been happening with dental practice transitions in the state of Wisconsin for the last 10, 15 years that people are this scared?
I remember we did that event 6 months ago, and I got up and spoke last and said, like,
Yeah,
if you are not already planning what your retirement is looking like, you are failing yourself. Again
right.
last night, and with a practitioner, and I don't know what
Yep,
I want to do. And I'm like, you should not sell your practice till you have your next steps figured out, because you're still relatively young. And this
correct.
doctor said to me, well, you know, I kind of feel like this is my whole life. I go, you are defined by who you are. You're a
Right,
dentist, and you better figure out your next steps before you leave the chair, because your spouse is lovely, but you have not spent 24 hours, 7 days a week with this spouse for the last 40 years. So you better figure out in your head where you're going. And I'll tell you, I also said that when I met with the accounting group yesterday, and they were like, I was like, a lot of people, I usually catch them a year out before they're ready to hang it up. We clean up all the crap in their practice if they haven't been getting rid of paper. We scan everything, we get it all complete, we do all the things that we need to do. But doctors need, like, it's not even coaching and counseling. It's somebody like-minded to their business to understand that they're going to be able to move on from this, but they need somebody right now to focus on directing them in a direction to understand it's time. Like,
It's
when it's also, you and I are going to do a podcast on when they know it's time to be done. But
yeah.
that's a huge thing. I have another question though. Like, we see a lot of doctors coming out of dental school with very mediocre skill sets, needing mentorship. I mean, they can barely handle one column. How are they handling 2 and 3 columns and hygiene checks in their own practice if they haven't had anybody like mentor them? Like, are you seeing a lot of new doctors wanting the retiring doctor, the selling doctor, to stay on and sort of give them a little bit of mentorship and support on how to possibly grow or develop or just keep up with, the level of care that they were giving?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, usually that road goes both ways. I think it just has to do with working. My network of sellers currently are really pretty solid professionals where they want to make
Mhm.
sure that whoever comes in and buys their practice is going to be providing that continuity of care. So I have yet to really come across somebody that says, absolutely not, I will not be mentoring, I'm out.
Gotcha.
And yeah, and if and when that does happen, I'll definitely have to, punt and do my best to, help provide that mentorship that I agree. I mean, these folks need it. But also keep
Yeah.
in mind, I mean, the majority of my buyers, at least, they're not new grads. I guess like the youngest buyers that I serve, that I help find a practice, have at least a GPR under their belts or something like that.
Right.
Or but this kind of that sweet spot is anywhere between 5 and 7 years is when, they call me and they're like, or they call you and you
Habitually.
tell me about them, however that works. And then they're ready to buy. So, I mean, in a way, yes, some of them really need that mentorship, but some of these folks, after a few years at a DSO or wherever they land right after school, after dental school, and they sharpen those hand skills and really understand the business behind it. These are talented folks, and so they are more than capable of running a business, from what I can tell.
On the flip side, Betsy, have you seen where you have a seller who's their practice is their baby? You said their legacy practice, it's their baby. They've grown it for 40 years or received it from their parents and continued and they're ready. That they're not quite ready to they should let go, but they're not ready to. And how do you walk that line of
Yeah.
explaining to them it's time and it's time?
Yeah, I mean, I think I can't force anybody to sell their business. So, and I don't, and I won't. But I think if I notice that they're starting to say, oh, I'm getting old, I don't want to work 4 days a week in this practice, I'm going to cut down to 3, I'm like, pump the brakes. If you want top dollar for your practice, you can't cut your production right now. You would, I mean, and that's
Wait,
literally
wait,
folk,
wait, 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 wait.
That was, yeah.
Please say that again a little louder for people to hear.
right? Don't cut your production, folks. Keep that same level of productivity. Continue getting new patients through your doors. Um, it's
I mean,
silly. It is so silly, and you shoot yourself in the foot when you slow down because then that valuation comes back, and I'm the messenger that gets reamed out
right.
because 2 years ago they had the best year, whatever that looks like. And, obviously a lender is not going to give a loan
Mhm.
based on what they did do in the past. And so that's probably one of the biggest things is when they really start slowing down, it's like, okay, I can tell you're almost done here, but let's just, finish strong and let's have a plan and let's strategize.
You know,
Love that.
it's really interesting. You're not going back from hell. Like when you have decided that you're going to not see as many patients and you're
Sarah, you
dropping.
crack me up.
No, you aren't like you and I see this all the time where the doctor has already, oh, I decided I don't want to do crowns anymore. So now I'm patching and filling people because they don't really want these older people to pay money, even though I'm not doing them a service because they probably eroded all the surfaces of that tooth. And it is literally time to put something new there so they can chew their food, you know,
Right.
they back
Yes.
off. And the other thing, this is like another thing I'm going to throw in here. You can make a lot of money doing bread and butter dentistry.
Yes.
Again, new patients doesn't equal production. It doesn't increase collections. You have stuff in your practice.
Hmm.
Implants is random too, guys, unless you're doing all on four cases and uh you're doing prosthetic surgery. You are not making more money by offering implants. Get good at bread and butter dentistry. Get really
Yes.
good at it because all of you who think that every person in the world is dropping 5 grand on an implant and a restoration, they aren't. They
They're
want
not.
just the
Yep.
crown. They want you to save the tooth structure. People are very smart. They understand about root absorption. They understand about bone loss. They're very, very smart. They get it. They're on the internet, Googling everything under the sun. Get good
Yeah.
at bread and butter dentistry because guess what? The practice that you are buying, if you go run a practice analysis to look at the top 20 codes, the ones after hygiene and perio, you're going to be doing three-sided
Hmm.
fillings and crowns. Period. End of story. And
Yeah.
maybe some night guards so that you can save some teeth and keep people from grinding their teeth to sawdust. But it's pretty,
Absolutely.
it's pretty simple stuff. And they want to complicate it by, oh, I'm taking an implant course with Stroman next week. I'm learning how
Mm.
to do more grafting and flap work. It's like, no, let the periodontist who has a specialty in that do the flap
Hmm.
work and do the grafting and do what they need to do to keep the
Yeah.
area, bone with the bone there so that you can attach something there. Stop trying
Correct.
to be everything to everyone. Get really good at bread and butter dentistry. And guess what? Everyone else who's moving over to all these other fancy things that aren't always going to be in vogue, you're going to be the best
Right.
at it. And people are going to come to you or come to your clinics if you own
Absolutely.
more than one.
I couldn't
Drives me
agree
nuts.
more. My strongest buyers, yeah, no, my strongest buyers are the realistic ones. So, and that's part of it. So, yeah.
Do cosmetic dentistry, do full mouth rehabs, but full mouth rehab doesn't always have to be, well, I'm going to do the implants and I'm going to do all the grafting. And I'm not saying that general dentists aren't good at it. I'm saying I'd rather see you get really good at surgical extractions and endo in-house, not molar, but maybe anteriors and premolars, because that does bring you money. And guess what? We can start working, if you have a scanner, we can start working on the crown
Yeah.
right after you did the endo, and there you go. You probably have $4,000 in production right there. Boy, that was difficult.
Yeah. With my buyers, I'm like, you don't have to master every procedure before you own.
No,
Just know where your gaps are and just be mindful of it. And obviously my buyers, they can look for practices that either match, exactly what their skill set is. At DDSmatch, we do what we call it's our own personal report called a clinical opportunity blueprint, where we take data directly from the software of my seller and basically show them how they can grow the practice. And
right.
maybe that will kind of direct them where to take their CE next. If, and quite frankly, most of my clients are bread and butter. Some of them might do, a molar root canal here or there. And I love that. So it gives them a lot of opportunity to grow that bottom line. So I
You
do
get really
encourage
good,
it, but they shouldn't lean on it heavily at first. No.
get really good at the skill set at hand
Mhm.
that you are buying a practice for, and don't try to make it something it's not. Take the money that's in the practice and grow from
Yes.
there. I don't know, you do this, I don't, but I just feel like stay with what was really good about the practice and grow it and make it better and focus on that
Exactly.
and stop trying to be something you're not. You are not an oral surgeon. You are not a periodontist. I'm not trying to
Right.
be mean. You are a general dentist. Be a really good one and then grow from there.
Brand yourself,
Yeah.
Right.
get the
Yeah.
reputation, brand
And
Yeah.
yourself.
and
Have
definitely
the
network. Be a
relationship with
part
the
of Yeah, be a part of the Wisconsin Dental Association. Go to the component meetings, meet those specialists in your area that you can refer to. Most of them are so welcoming that you could come in and, hey, I've never done this type of extraction. Can I watch? It sounds silly, but this community is really special in Wisconsin. And I just think that, leaning on those professionals that have that, those really tight hand skills for like, you know, retreatments for endo, things that are pretty complicated I mean, we need to lean on each other. And those beginning dentists, those buyers that are just getting their feet wet, um, I'm talking to you, so
Do you want to know a fun fact about Wisconsin?
I
I
do.
think we're top 5 for pay of dentists throughout the entire country. So it says
Really?
something. Yep. And we are not like we're not some big implant factory like you might see in like Florida or Texas or California. We're like a
Yeah.
big bread and butter. We're a big farm town. You may
Oh,
have a
yes.
dentist that, that's the other thing I wanted to say to you. A lot of these dentists don't want to go rural. And I'm like, go rural. Then have an apartment in the city if that's what you want. But like, rural's where all the money is. You have a captive audience out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I
There's
agree.
nowhere
There's
for
a
them to
very
go. You're the only game in town. Go rural.
Yes, there's a very lucrative life to be had outside of the city. I mean, outside of Milwaukee, Green Bay, Eau Claire, these practices are killing it. And I tell my buyers often that if it's something that you would consider, go talk to your spouse, get their buy-in, you could be making millions of dollars.
I mean, it's crazy for people to think that. And then here's the game that doesn't have to happen when you buy a rural practice. Oh, I have to go back and talk about my fee schedule with the insurance company and beat them up, and I've got to do this and I've got to do that. You know what? Go fee for service and be rural. They don't have a choice.
Yeah,
It's go, you're done. You can make so much money. You can decide which insurances at that point that you want to take and which ones you don't want to take. The opportunity is limitless, but I think everybody wants to be in
yep,
the same spot. Oh, I've got to be in Milwaukee. Oh, I got to be in Madison. Oh, I got to be in downtown Chicago. I mean, I've got to be in, wherever. You don't.
you
Rural
don't.
dentists have the best lives, and they're
They
somewhere where
do.
everybody knows them. They're totally happy and comfortable. It's amazing.
Yes.
I have a handful of beautiful rural practices that should be up for consideration.
If
So,
you
but
want
it's
to
hard to get folks to look at it.
send those to Alex. We'll tag them in the word part of our podcast, right,
Oh,
Alex?
thank you.
Sure.
I was going to say, as you mentioned, like Wisconsin is just a wonderful place. People are nice. And then if
Mhm.
you go rural, you get a loyalty base of your patients as well. People want to give business to people they like and people they trust.
Yes. Hmm.
And being out in the rural parts, that's
100%.
that's where you get to form the relationships. They trust you. They don't want to be driving into the city to get their work done.
And that's why you can sell more dentistry. They're not going for a second opinion to 6 other people down the block or in the same office building. They're
Right.
they're it. And what you say sticks.
Yeah.
They're trusting you. You're part of the community. Maybe somebody that is a relative of theirs works in your office. It's a
That's
great
exactly right.
opportunity.
It
Plus,
is.
you're also probably going to own the real estate if you go rural because that doctor
Yes.
probably owns the real estate, did the building, bought the shopping center, wherever they are, whatever it is. It's a really good deal. I'm going to throw a shameless plug in here that
Yeah.
make in your deal, have Betsy do this for you. If you can't buy the real estate immediately, make a deal for today's price and to buy it and close on it in 5 years after you prove the concept and
Yes.
cash flow the business. Hey, am I wrong?
You are not wrong.
I did hear about this and it was brilliant.
I did it for a
You're
client
a
once.
genius, Sari. You're a genius.
No,
Genius.
I'm not, but who else is going to want, who else benefits from owning that property other than the current dentist that is practicing there? The dentist
Right.
that left is probably keeping it around for some income.
Hmm.
And the dentist that's there is the only person that really makes sense to own that property. So
Right.
make sure that you, when you are rural, that you get your property at some point. Within the
Absolutely.
first 5 years of your owning the practice, make a deal, agree on a price, and go for it. Because I think that
Right.
could be super helpful for you later on. And then you don't have to make a deal later on. You've already done it.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm more than happy to help my clients sell their property. I have my real estate license in the state, and
We
I,
love
I
that
think
for
it,
you.
oh, thanks. Yes, it's great. I think it really helps my clients just to keep everything under one umbrella. And I always encourage selling the real estate just because that buyer, they're going to need that. And if they can't afford it right away, then we will structure a deal so that they will be the eventual owner of that property for sure.
The best time to negotiate the real estate is when the money is changing hands the first time and get
Yes.
it done. When
Yep.
you have to go back, you have a whole nother set of lawyers, accountants, Indian chiefs, the
Yep.
bank, everything. The bank is already pretty much they're gonna fund. Here's a secret about dental. If you own more than 51% of it, the bank will fund you
Oh,
for
yeah.
nothing down at
Yes.
110%. So you can have extra money to do repairs and any TI work
Yeah.
that you want to do.
Yeah.
So
Renovations are great. And
totally.
oftentimes they need a little cleanup. So yeah, it goes a long
Betsy,
way.
we're going to do this again because next time we're going to talk about
Yes.
how to sell your practice. We
Awesome.
love
Yeah.
having you. Everybody, this is
Thank you,
Betsy
Betsy.
Krekling. She does recruiting and practice sales. We love her. We actually are able to work together on stuff together because we send
Yes.
people back and forth. But I would say Betsy's one of these people. The sweater that I had on yesterday with the heart on the sleeve, Betsy wears her heart on her sleeve. A lot of
Oh,
people are out there to try to get you to do things and try things. Betsy's going to give you some really good information. She's not going to be critical of you. She's not measuring how much money you have. She's going to give you information. It's worth a conversation with her to see if you are really ready to take that leap into ownership. And I have
yeah.
one thing to say to Sam, mind your job.
Mind your job.
Mind your job.